Doctors and nurses of Reddit who have delivered babies to mothers who clearly cheated on their husbands. What was that like? Had a patient who came into her for UT with her boyfriend of 4 months. His words. She was 19. Acting extremely dramatic for just having UT. We tell her we need urine. She urges us to cath her, which is really unusual, but she says she can't pee, so me and other nurse assume the position to put in a catheter with her lying on the gurney. At this point nurse screams, "Call L&D." She's crowning. L&D nurse gets in just in time to grab the child as it shoots out into her hands and is a living breathing baby. The girl swears she had no idea she was pregnant. They wheel her off to postpartum and the guy is just kind of left standing there, dumbstruck. "We only been dating 4 months. I had no idea she was pregnant. She never mentioned it at all." As he just buried his head in his knees while he was sitting on the floor against the hallway wall. I felt so bad for the guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but wouldn't a pregnant person have at least some physical indication that they are pregnant? Like, I know there's the fear of asking if someone is pregnant and they aren't, but like, if you're dating, wouldn't that be fairly evident over time? Edit. Just want to thank everyone that has responded. I now understand that it is not uncommon for women to not show typical pregnancy signs during a pregnancy. I have learned more than I expected today. If you ever see the show I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, it's more common than you'd think. Some ladies just plain won't show at all, and others may just look a bit plumper, but not obviously pregnant. When my baby was born, people asked me if her father was Polynesian. Nope. He's a skinny white man. There was no doubt he was the father. She was born with thick black hair. She was a big baby, 4 kilograms, and had jaundice, which made her look very tan. The hair fell out, the jaundice went away, she thinned out, and I now have a strawberry blonde haired 2-year-old that looks exactly like her papa. But man, if I hadn't known he was the only man I'd slept with, I would have some serious doubts. Thanks for this. Now I have the mental image of a baby popping out, the mother looking at the baby and audibly going, "Wait a minute, I don't remember cheating." Senna Sneakheadic strikes again. Mother to be warned, this could go one of 2 ways prior to delivery. Wasn't sure what she meant. She was white, as was her husband. Delivered baby was black. Then it all made sense. So one of my very white friend's girlfriends was pregnant, and when the baby was born it was very purple looking. Buddy flipped out, went on Facebook announcing she was a cheating hoe and had another man's baby. Few days later the baby was very white and the DNA test showed it was his. He just deleted his whole damn Facebook instead of owning up to it. Did he think she cheated on him with Barney the dinosaur? Not a doctor or nurse, but an undergrad I had a buddy, Caucasian, who'd been dating the same girl, also Caucasian, for a while. She gets knocked up, he proposes. Fast forward a few months and both families are eagerly waiting at the hospital to meet the baby. The baby comes out black. Everyone is in shock. Girl is frantically trying to convince everyone that there's been a misunderstanding. My buddy called off the engagement immediately, returned the ring, and never looked back. Misunderstanding? How could there be any kind of misunderstanding? I had a friend in high school who was black and Filipino, but looked more black than Filipino, including skin tone. Issue is his mother is Filipino and his father is white. He popped out, and the story goes she said the exact same thing. Swears up and down it's his. Paternity test comes out and he was, in fact, his. They did research and tests and his great-great-grandfather on the Filipino side was black. Makes for interesting family pictures with them. Newborn had chlamydia, got it from the mom, obviously. So the mom admits she was cheating on the dad, because there's no other way to explain that one. Except the dad was cheating too, with the other guy's girlfriend, and all 4 of them had chlamydia, with no idea who had it first. They also had no idea who the actual dad was. That was a rodeo. Just envisioning 4 Spider-Men pointing at each other. Edit. Holy fuck, shout out to the home slice for granting me a silver. Never would have thought my most upvoted comment would be about Spider-Man and a chlamydia baby. Not a doctor, but someone in my extended family had a baby, 2 Middle Eastern parents, that turned out to be dark-skinned. The father of the baby filed for divorce, even though the mother kept saying the baby was his. A few years later, they found out that the mother's great-grandmother was African, and that the baby obtained strong genes from her. They didn't get back together because too much had gone down at that point, but the mother was right all along. TLDR, two Middle Easterns had dark-skinned baby, husband divorced, but later it was found out that it was genetics. To think this would have been solved with a paternity test. To think so many problems in the Middle East could be solved with science instead of magical sky people. Not just in the Middle East, the world really. Super awkward for everyone involved. The husband was only in the room for a bit then left and didn't see him again. The fob, father of baby, showed up after the baby was born. I've also had where they didn't know whose baby it was, so both guys were present to see whose they thought it was. Two of my cousins and one of our friends had that situation. The girl was upfront with all of them. When she found out she was pregnant, she wasn't dating any of them, just being a free spirit. So, there they were, 3 dudes sitting in a waiting room waiting to find out whose life would change forever. Baby came out a spitting image of one of my cousins. To this day I'm amazed how well it all worked out, no drama. Kid has 2 loving parents, even though they've never formally been together. I have a white friend who is a superman of a dad. When his 3rd child was born, she was obviously of mixed race. His white wife had an affair with a black man. The wife also had substance abuse issues before this pregnancy and was no longer dependable or stable as a mother. So my friend immediately divorced her and took custody of the kids. All of them. He's been raising his 2 bio kids and the 3rd child, who isn't technically his, for the past decade. She's his princess, and he loves her exactly like the other 2. Man, I absolutely love stories where people are able to get past the baggage and love a child as this. It says so much about the character of the person. I was told this story by a nurse. Veracity might be clouded by time, but a birth of the couple's 3rd child. The couple was white. The baby was obviously of Pacific Islander descent. Everyone went very quiet. The nurse telling me the story said she took a moment of silence as she realized what had happened. Then she tried to act normally, but waiting for the outburst. She said the tension was unreal. The guy stared for a minute at a child that was very obviously not his. The mum was already in tears and talking very fast. The guy stood up, looked around for a minute, then left the room. Never said a word. He wasn't seen again at the hospital. The mum spent the rest of the day on her phone. The nurse doesn't think she ever found him. The last part is even more distantly related gossip, but allegedly the father cut all ties immediately, speaking regarding care of his 2 actual kids only through his lawyer. If any of that is true, I take my hat off to the guy. Edit. Just to clarify, the story goes he was very much into raising / looking after his actual kids, but wanted nothing further to do with the mum or the kid that wasn't his. He lawyered up to avoid potential emotional fallout, which to me is pretty classy. Again, if true. Damn. That's gotta suck for him. Everything suddenly falling apart at what's supposed to be one of the happiest moments of your life. Anesthesiologist here. C-sections are typically done under spinal anesthesia, and we're the ones at the head of the table keeping the mother calm and talking her through the procedure while the surgeons operate. I've seen it more than once, but I remember one in particular when the parents were both very Caucasian and the baby was very much not. The actual father obviously had to be very dark-skinned. At delivery, when the not father saw the baby, he just looked down at his wife, who was starting to cry, and calmly said, "You fucking whore," and walked out. She started screaming for him to come back, but there wasn't much she could do since she was, you know, still being operated on. She lost it to the point I eventually had to sedate her just a bit, because she was in danger of injuring herself. As far as I know, her husband never came back to the hospital. I don't know what happened after that. She's a high stakes gambler. 50 over 50 I come out of this scot-free. The kind of woman to walk up to a roulette wheel and put it all on black. Okay, story from a friend of my brother's. She worked as a nurse and a woman and her husband came in. They were both white and she delivered a child that was black. The husband immediately starts saying WTF while she is going on and on about dome and trays and everything. He orders a DNA test. While this is going on, her mother and stepdad show up. The stepdad is black. After the testing is done, the DNA test ends up showing that the baby is the stepdad's. Her husband instantly dropped her and cut ties. Edit. In response to some comments. This didn't happen over the course of a couple of hours. Husband hung out, albeit reluctantly, until things were conclusive. Once testing showed it wasn't his baby, they tested the stepdad. Probably suspected something. I wasn't there, I don't know the deeper details.